The day Elvis Aaron Presley was born, the world was a dark and hard place. It was January 8th, 1935, and the Great Depression was swallowing up families like his. His mother, Gladys, was at home, not in a hospital, because they couldn't afford it. She was in labor, and no one knew she was carrying twins. Around 4 in the morning, the first baby came. It was a boy, but he didn't cry. He was stillborn. The family named him Jesse Garon. Just a half hour later, another baby boy was born. He was alive and screaming. They named him Elvis Aaron. Gladys and Vernon Presley were heartbroken over the loss of Jesse Garon, but they were relieved to have Elvis. They couldn't even afford a gravestone for Jesse, so they buried him in a simple, unmarked plot. Elvis's arrival brought a glimmer of hope, but life was far from easy. The Presleys lived in a tiny, 2-room house in Tupelo, Mississippi. There was no electricity, no running water, and no indoor bathroom. Vernon, Elvis's father, worked odd jobs on farms, painting houses, driving trucks, but jobs were scarce and money was even scarcer. The family often struggled to put food on the table. Elvis's mother, Gladys, was overprotective. She walked him to school every day and whipped him when he misbehaved. Despite the harsh discipline, Elvis adored her. He would rush home after school just to be with her. The loss of Jesse Garon left a deep mark on Elvis. He often visited Jesse's grave and wondered what life would have been like with a brother. One of the few bright spots in Elvis's life was church. The family joined a local church, and Elvis found his voice there. He sang with the choir, and people noticed his talent. For his 11th birthday, Gladys gave him his first guitar. She told him, "It will help you with your singing, and everyone does enjoy hearing you sing." Elvis was a shy boy, but he loved music. He taught himself to play the guitar by reading books and listening to older musicians. He practiced every chance he got, even bringing his guitar to school. Some kids made fun of him, calling his songs hillbilly music. One boy even cut the strings off Elvis's guitar, but nothing could stop Elvis from playing. In 1948, when Elvis was in 8th grade, his parents decided to move to Memphis, Tennessee. They were looking for a fresh start. The family packed their belongings into a 1939 Plymouth and set off. They hoped Memphis would offer better job opportunities and a better life. Little did they know, this move would change everything. Elvis's journey was just beginning. In Memphis, he would find new friends, new love, and a new destiny. But first, he had to overcome the challenges of a tough childhood. The world was waiting, and Elvis was ready to take his place in it. Elvis was a young man when he walked into Sun Studios, and he was just trying to find his sound. He and the other musicians tried different versions of "I Love You Because," but nothing seemed to satisfy Mr. Phillips, the studio owner. They took a break, and while the others got sodas, Elvis kept playing with his guitar. Then something magical happened. Elvis started playing "That's All Right Mama," an old blues song. As he sang, he began to move around the room, dancing and jumping. The guitarists were amazed and joined in. Mr. Phillips finally heard what he was looking for. He called the local radio station, and when "That's All Right Mama" played, over 100 people called in, asking to hear it again. Elvis's music was loud, electric, and different. It captured the spirit of the time. People loved his voice, his energy, and the way he moved on stage. His performances were electric, and his fans went wild, especially when he shook his hips. Before he knew it, Elvis was a star, but fame brought new challenges. Colonel Tom Parker, a shrewd businessman, saw Elvis's potential and wanted to manage him. Parker had big plans like touring the country, appearing on TV, and even starring in movies. Elvis already had a manager, Bob Neal, who had helped him get a spot on the Louisiana Hayride and make deals with Sun Studios, but Parker was persistent. He convinced Elvis's father, Vernon, that Parker could make Elvis a bigger star. Gladys, Elvis's mother, wasn't so sure. She worried about the fast-paced life and the attention from fans. Despite his mother's concerns, Elvis signed with Parker. In 1955, RCA Records bought Elvis's contract from Sun for a record-breaking $35,000. It was a huge amount of money, and it meant Elvis was on his way to becoming a national sensation. Elvis's first song for RCA, "Heartbreak Hotel," was a hit. It was slow and emotional, and Elvis's raw performance connected with people. The song became the most popular in the country. With the success of Heartbreak Hotel, Elvis's life changed. He had more money than he ever imagined and bought his parents a new house with a swimming pool and a pink Cadillac for his mother. Television played a big role in Elvis's rise to fame. When he appeared on shows, people were captivated by his style and energy. He wore tight jeans and a greasy ducktail hairstyle, and he moved in a way that made adults uncomfortable. They called him Elvis the Pelvis and warned their kids about his vulgar movements, but young people loved him. They saw him as a symbol of rebellion and freedom. Songs like Hound Dog and Don't Be Cruel topped the charts, and Elvis became the face of rock and roll. Colonel Parker didn't stop there. He wanted Elvis to be a movie star. In 1956, Elvis starred in his first movie, Love Me Tender. Critics didn't like it, but fans filled the theaters. Elvis went on to make 31 movies, becoming a household name. However, the movies kept him busy, and he had less time for concerts and recording music. Parker didn't mind because the records still sold. In 1957, Elvis bought a mansion in Memphis called Graceland. It was a dream come true, but the happiness was short-lived. In 1958, Elvis was drafted into the Army. He was sent to Germany, where he met Priscilla Beaulieu, a young American girl. They fell in love, and when Elvis returned to the United States in 1960, their relationship continued. They got married in 1967 and had a daughter, Lisa Marie, in 1968. Despite his success, Elvis faced pressure from Colonel Parker, who kept him on a grueling schedule. Elvis wanted to make better movies, but he rarely had time for acting lessons. He continued to perform and make music, but the demands of fame took a toll. Elvis Presley's story is one of incredible highs and deep lows. He rose from a poor boy in Tupelo, Mississippi, to become the king of rock and roll, capturing the hearts of millions around the world. But fame and fortune came with their own set of challenges. By the late 1960s, Elvis was feeling the weight of his success. The music scene had changed, and younger artists like Bob Dylan, the Beatles, and the Rolling Stones were taking center stage. Elvis felt left behind. He was also trapped in a cycle of work and pills, struggling to keep up with the demands of his career. His health and personal life suffered, and he and Priscilla began to drift apart, but Elvis never lost the fire inside him. In 1968, he made a bold move. He took control of his career and starred in a TV special that reminded everyone why he was the king. He sang with passion, wearing a black leather suit that made him look every bit the rock star he was. The special was a huge success, and Elvis was back. He followed up with new music, including the powerful songs In the Ghetto and Suspicious Minds, which topped the charts. He returned to the concert stage in Las Vegas, where he performed to sold-out crowds. For a moment, it seemed like everything was right again. But the comeback wasn't enough to solve all of Elvis's problems. He continued to work tirelessly, but his health declined. He gained weight, and his performances sometimes faltered. His marriage to Priscilla ended in 1973, and he became increasingly dependent on his friends and drugs to cope. In the final years of his life, Elvis's world began to unravel. He was often seen as a shadow of his former self, struggling with his weight and memory. On August 16, 1977, at the age of 42, Elvis was found dead in his bathroom at Graceland. His father, Vernon, was devastated, and fans around the world mourned the loss of a true icon. Despite his early death, Elvis's legacy lives on. His music continues to inspire new generations, and his influence on rock and roll is undeniable. Every year, thousands of fans visit Graceland to pay their respects. They remember Elvis not just for his music, but for the way he touched their lives. Even today, new fans discover the king and fall in love with his songs. Elvis's story is a reminder of the power of music and the human spirit. He faced incredible challenges, but always found a way to come back. In the end, it's his music and the love of his fans that keep his spirit alive.